Welcome to Power Lunch Live. I'm Rhett Power, your host. It's good to be with you here on a Friday. I cannot believe we're already into September. It is remarkable that we are that far into the year already. And anyway, it's good to be with you here. Today's episode is going to be fantastic. It's going to be very interesting. We're going to be looking into 3D and how that's going to change business. I've got Barry Allen today from PureWeb. But the point of Power Lunch Live is to have today's thought leaders, best-selling authors, CEOs, people who are doing amazing work in the world that we can learn from and that help us get better at what we do. Now, if you like the program, give it a like or share so that you and your network can benefit from these conversations. And so obviously we can grow a little bit. And now we do broadcast on LinkedIn, of course, LinkedIn Live. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and I think a couple others that I know my teenagers follow. I have never looked at, but anyway, we do follow those and monitor those feeds. If you have a question, please do put your question in the chat. We'll monitor it, and we'll try to get the answers that you need. And it's a good way for you to interact with Barry and I today. I've got Barry Allen. He's, like I said, he's the CEO of PureWeb. He's a serial entrepreneur who's successfully built companies in digital media, medtech, and life sciences. He's active on public and private boards and in the startup community. He was the founder and chair of BC Excels. He's an entrepreneur in residence at Venture West, and he's a lead mentor with the BC Innovation Council, an associate with the Creative Destruction Labs in Vancouver and Calgary, and most recently was chairman of Zolo Ventures. Barry, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Brett. Nice to be here.
So I want to, we got to talk about PureWeb, what you guys do. You're one of the leading companies out there in 3D. So talk a little bit about PureWeb and what you do. And I'm really curious how COVID is kind of changing your business.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Rhett. So I joined the company about 1.5 years ago. Prior to my joining, the company was entirely focused on healthcare, and we built a product that is in about 4,000 hospitals around the world. And what it did is took all these huge medical images that were stuck in the basement of the hospital and pushed them out to docs' cell phones, which is very cool. But we were really looking at where else could we do that, and where else did we need to do that. There's this explosion in VR, AR, and 3D content driven by the gaming industry. So games and the software that allows you to make really cool games allows the enterprise to make these really cool virtual photorealistic worlds. And we started looking at where you could use it. And we came up with a bunch of sectors in e-commerce and virtual training. And then COVID hit, and it accelerated those businesses because you didn't want to go to a training center. We took the training to you. But now it's used in virtual trade shows and virtual entertainment, and in addition to those things. So virtual show homes for builders. How do you sell a house if you can't walk people through a show home? All these things take the video game, and then we deploy our technology that we spent about 15 years building and a lot of money to allow us to take these games, these virtual experiences, and make them real for everybody. And we do stuff so you can see these virtual experiences without goggles, without a headset on any device, so a tablet, a phone, kind of light devices. Because before us, you needed about a $5,000 gaming computer, which your kids and my kids have, and all the fans are running to allow you to experience this. And now you can do it anywhere, anytime. And it's the future, right? It's going to happen. COVID accelerated all of those businesses, but this was already coming, and it's just accelerated and be a real catalyst for us with virtual trade shows, virtual entertainment that nobody had really attacked before or had a technical solution to it.
Have we all seen what you're talking about? I mean, have we all used it, you think?
Well, you've used the virtual, like these 3D imaging, the stuff that they do car ads out of is the same stuff we use in the movies, right? So what we used to call CGI, computer generated imaging, is based on gaming engine. They're photorealistic models that are built on a computer and then stuck into a real world. So you would see it, you would see some of it on high-end car brands where you have these photorealistic 3D imaging. If you're looking at a cheap car, you get a 2D image. So it's not broadly used across a lot of those fields. It's used for simulation, so simulated training. So we do training in oil and gas and resources and aviation. And so instead of the pilot crashing the real plane, they get to crash the simulator from their iPad, and we try to avoid them crashing the planes. So you're seeing it out there. It's becoming more pervasive, but you're going to see more and more of it. You might have seen some of our virtual trade shows. So big automotive manufacturers, instead of the big trade shows like Geneva, got canceled. So instead of a couple 100,000 people going through the hall, they broadcasted, and a couple 100,000 people saw the same experience online from their home. So you're seeing more and more of it, and I think it's just going to happen more. There was a big study, and it's from this group called Statista, about the trade show business, and they said the data was 82% of companies believe that in the future that there was going to be an online component, if not entirely online. And like COVID, 90% of shows got canceled, right? Think about the big ones that everyone knows about, CES, any of the automotive canceled, right? Just flat out. So if you're a big marketer, how do you market your products? How do you launch to your dealers? How do you launch to consumers?
Mm-hmm. So, I think that's really interesting, because I come from the speaking world, right? And I go to a lot of trade shows and conferences to speak.
Yeah.
And so it's really just now, where the industry is figuring out that model, how to do it virtually. And my sense is that's going to be, that component's here to stay now, right? There'll be a hybrid. There might be there will be in-person parts of the show, but there are going to be a lot parts that are virtual.
Yeah, so that's what everyone's saying, right? We're going to have this integrated into an overall digital marketing strategy as well. And so that's one of the advantages of a digital approach too. So we did a project for a large multinational software company that one of their shows got canceled. So they built a virtual booth and they blasted it out to their clients. And then they gave the virtual booth to each of their sales guys, who now walk their clients through the virtual booth. So it's a tool that's used every day, and we see that more and more. We see tools that are built for dealers to promote their products, and then it turns into a direct-to-consumer approach. So B2B and B2C, direct-to-consumer is where this is going, and it's becoming way more cost-effective as the technology gets better. The old way of doing stuff with these sort of cartoony little flat images, we're digital modern consumers, right? We demand this photorealistic thing. We want to sit on our couch and fall in love with the car we're going to buy. We don't want to look at cartoons of it.
No, I was looking at cars the other day, and speaking of cars, right? And you could twist it around and turn it around and scroll, bring it closer to you, look inside. And it was actually it was fascinating.
Yeah. So the new stuff, and I was on the phone with probably the leading guys in the world on that this morning. The new way of doing it is photorealistic car. So you get to see the car driving down a road, and you can decide what kind of road it drives on if you want to be cool. But you can get right inside the car, and more as these cars are being driven by technology, the only way to experience that touch screen and the interface is to actually do it live. So you can actually simulate all the tools. You can understand what autopilot does. You can understand how to configure your setup. And then when you're done, you can send send all your buddies, or you can post a bespoke commercial of your car, right? You can change how it looks, and then you send it to all your friends and brag or say, hey, this is the car I'm going to buy. And so it's becoming integrated fully front to back in the automotive industry, but we do planes, trains, automobiles, like it's all coming. And it's about consumer adoption and showing the economics of it. You know, we know that a large automotive manufacturer probably spends about $850 per consumer on marketing. This photorealistic experience online, probably 25 cents, right?
Wow.
Probably you're not going to see it for a Honda Fit or a Toyota Yaris, but you're probably going to start seeing all the Europeans and the Japanese brands above a certain level. It's going to be part of the experience. We do it with supercars where you have to log in because they don't want everyone seeing it, but it's becoming more and more part of what we do, and very cost effective and a part of an overall digital journey. So whether that's the configurator online or a configurator in the dealership, whatever that looks like, all the way through to how we create marketing materials, how we distribute them, and how you share and customize, right? Because that's what everyone wants to do now. It's their thing.
So you'll be able to actually drive it. I mean, that's going to be part of the experience.
Yeah, you can actually drive them now. You can drive. So it's basically a video game of your car. So you can pick the color and the wheels and the interior, and then you can get in it. You can change the radio station. You can turn on the nav or the autopilot and drive it on a road.
That is insane.
You can see what it looks like in your driveway and take a picture of it and send it to all your friends too. I mean, it's all the same technology, and our tech cost effectively enables OEMs and brands to do that. We do it with all the large appliance manufacturers now, a lot of consumer goods, electronic goods, and you're going to start seeing, hey, what do those shoes look like with my pants, right? You're going to start seeing shoes and purses and watches online as the cost comes down.
Well, clothes too. I mean, right? You're going to be able to try that sweater on. You're going to be able to, you're going to be able to put that ensemble together, right? Say, I like that. Let me.
Yeah, you literally can take, using the tech in your phone, create a photorealistic 2-size body avatar, and then we know exactly how those clothes are made because they're cut with CAD, computer aided design. We know the size of them, we know how materials hang, and so you're going to start seeing putting together outfits, but on your body with your face.
And but you'll know how it fit. I mean, before you get it in the mail, like I mean, that's still some of the limitation of it right now, right? People still have to send those pair of shoes back, or they have to send that. But now, if it's your body, you know how long that sleeve is going to, where that sleeve is going to fall.
Exactly. So we know your dimensions literally from using your phone and the built-in AR and the advanced cameras in advanced phones. We know exactly dimensionally how you fit, and we know dimensionally how the clothes fit. So you as a consumer, you can just order 6 sizes and get them all delivered and stick them back in the mail. But if you're the online retailer, you got to eat all that. And in COVID, you cannot restock those clothes.
Oh, really?
All those returns that you're seeing are sitting in warehouses somewhere until they deal with how to sterilize them and repackage them, because nobody wants, like, are you going to try on a hat that someone else wore? And I don't know. I don't want to, but I probably need a hat. But yeah, so that's, again, accelerated by COVID is really accelerated e-commerce. We're seeing more and more e-commerce, and it's going to be across the whole spectrum from, we're doing jet manufacturers to shoe configurators to make a custom shoe. I mean, everything's coming.
How does, for a small and medium-sized enterprise, how is this going to help them? Because it seems like right now it's expensive.
Well, so I can talk about our medical business. So this was a small medical business, and we would go to maybe 10 trade shows a year around the world. Our most expensive trade show probably cost us about $400,000 to attend. So let's say I had $1 million to spend on attending trade shows around the year. I could make a digital booth for anywhere from $50,000 to $200,000. So it's not a small amount of money, but I could use that one booth all year long, and it would cost me maybe literally pennies a minute for my consumers and my customers to see that virtual booth. So if my customer is going to spend 15 minutes in a virtual booth, so it costs me 50 cents to put it in front of someone. Well, that's not a cup of coffee. That doesn't cover parking. So you still have a sales team working with the customer, but remotely. So you would make an argument that in a small enterprise, it wouldn't take very much to get the cost recovery from $100,000 digital investment, because you could use it over and over again, or you tweak it next year to add a new product. We work with big companies who, we did this automotive trade show. Let's say a large automotive manufacturer to go to a large trade show, their total budget, well, automotive or medical or whatever, probably like $4 to $5 million US for one show. People, travel, booth, handouts, and they're able to, this one case that I can share the rough numbers, they took something that historically was a $4 or $5 million expenditure, replaced it with a digital asset, and distributed it to customers for about $250,000 or $1 a person. $1 a person to recreate what was costing them $10 a person before. And now they've got this digital asset, they can use it over and over again. So the marginal cost goes down. The next trade show, that's going to cost 50 cents a person to do the exact same experience. And as a digital marketer, I get full traceability. I know, because you log in with an email to get access typically, and I know who you are. And I just, as a customer acquisition cost, I'm a lot cheaper to do the trade show than it is to do Google AdWords. So just to let you know, Google AdWords on Lamborghini is like $2, right? So you think about the cost of some of these, right? These luxury brands are very expensive to market digitally. And so the cost effectiveness of the streaming and the configurators becomes very compelling. And then, we're seeing tools that are developed for one market, and all you got to do is change the language and drop it into another market. And whereas before we were limited to people coming to us, so you had travel and time, and now the consumer has control over when they see it. And so you get broader reach and you get better retention. And we know that a good digital user experience has a better conversion rate. So we're seeing that across the board.
So what kind of, talk about it from the smaller business side, what kind of businesses do you think benefit from this?
Oh boy, I can't think of any industry that the digital world isn't going to be part of. So we currently do stuff with digital training, so virtual training pushed out to customers. So instead of, and I'm talking like guys who drive trucks and gas stations, how do you deal with training them on security issues and stuff like that? And so
I think we lost Barry there for a minute.
You lose me there? Can you hear
Barry,
me now?
you back with us?
Yeah, did I lose you?
We lost you for a second.
Okay, I'm back. You were asking about what industries. I can't think of any industry where this doesn't have some application. So if it's an e-commerce, an improved e-commerce experience on a website, everyone's got a digital approach and everybody wants to be mobile. And so some of the existing solutions that you have don't work on mobile. So this, because it does all the compute on the cloud, means you can do anything on mobile on any device. Virtual training. So just about every industry has some component of training where you've got ongoing, whether it's a compliance thing or a safety thing. So today, for a mission critical training, you take that guy, that woman or a man out of the field, ship them to head office. That's probably fully loaded, $2,500 a day to sit in the classroom. Let alone, what if they're the only person who knows how to run that piece of equipment? So your equipment's down while you're training. You could push training. So you build a game of the simulation and push training. That employee can do the training at home for $100 a day. So that aspect of it, we're seeing the trade shows for sure. As it becomes more common and the tools get easier, you're going to see the cost of building that virtual booth coming down, probably to the point of being maybe $25,000 for a booth. Virtual show homes for builders, architects, where your public works, like big projects where you have to get public consultation, you're going to see that coming in for it's very cost effective. You can build a virtual show home for like 10 grand because you build the house in CAD, which is the foundation of the video game. So to go from a 2D to a 3D to a virtual world is a couple of steps, but the tools, the software. So we work really closely with Epic Games and Unity Games. So Epic, who make Fortnite, everybody knows Fortnite.
Right.
The same tools that allow you to make a video game allow you to make a virtual world. And so we were really lucky to be part of Infinite Playa, part of the Burning Man metaverse. So Burning Man, of course, in the desert got canceled. And the Burning Man metaverse, they recreated the same experience. So artists, not digital artists, but real artists were able to create their art pieces using the video game software, send them to the Infinite Playa guys. They put all the things into the one world. They created an avatar. So you'd go in, create your avatar with pink hair and whatever, and then roam around. You could see live artists. So artists are now broadcasting. So artists, you're an entertainer. Where's your revenue coming from? You can make money on YouTube, but people want an interactive experience. They want to be part of it. And so now the technology, like we did with Infinite Playa and the Burning Man metaverse, you could invite your friends, go to the thing with your friends, hang out with your friends at the event, watch a concert with your friends, talk to your friends, chat with your friends, make fun of how they were dressed, all digitally, all from your home for, a few bucks an hour. So we're seeing digital entertainment. We're entertainers, and we've got some clients that are building virtual nightclubs. Yeah. And the band shows up, the lights are controlled, but you can go to that event with your friends, and you can see. You take your advanced phone, and it can take and capture a live 3D image of you and drop it into a game, so you can literally experience it together. So this dual screen approach, we're seeing more of that. I don't know how many screens you've got going, but I got a few. And so multi-screen, multi-format, and pushed out to your cell phone. Like there's nothing to it.
That is remarkable. And I think the implication, it seems like to me, I don't know how COVID has impacted you guys directly, but it seems that it's been a benefit to this, because now we're kind of conditioned to be on a Zoom call or a video call, right? And so I see huge implications in terms of what I do. I'm a executive coach, right?
Yeah.
And I do a lot of training and a lot of and the inclination over the last few years is to do a lot of that in person. But now that we're more conditioned to be on video and do this remotely, I can see the huge savings to corporations and the big business, to business in general. Like you were talking about the training and if you can do that remotely.
Think about the travel and lost productivity alone.
Oh gosh. I mean, I waste days a month prior to COVID getting on planes and being on planes all day.
Yeah.
And I hate to type when I'm on a plane. So in a lot of ways, that's a lost day.
Yeah. Well, so it was always a challenge. It was a barrier because we were trained the best way to build relationships was in person. That's still true. But now that we've broken that, right? We have, you've got your rig at home with the lighting. It looks pretty good. And I got lighting that looks pretty good. Maybe I don't have like a professional studio. We taught people they didn't need that. We taught people how to collaborate and how to work with teams. And you're seeing Zoom and Microsoft Teams, for example, and then you're seeing collaboration built into all the social media. We have our own collaboration tool that's really, set up for like these graphic intensive things. So we can actually create a collaborative environment where we can share things together and both experience the exact same thing. So we do collaboration, kind of a drift from your thing, but we do these virtual show homes for builders. The consumer at home from their couch can go in and walk around a house and hit a button, and a realtor shows up, and they're walking around exactly the same house looking at exactly the same thing. And the realtor can say, hey, would you want to see what it looks like with white cabinets instead of gray cabinets, and click, and all of a sudden you get to control it. So once we're used to it, it's not going away. No one will go back to the 2-hour commute 5 days a week unless they have to. And so I don't know, you must see it in your clients. Our workforce, our developers couldn't be happier at home. Headphones, big screens, they aren't coming back. They don't want to come back.
Yeah.
The accountants and the back office guys, they're there, but they don't like being there 5 days a week. So maybe they're 3 days a week. So what's it going to do to the future of think about commuting, think about public transit, think about these huge towers, office towers downtown. Think about the businesses all around it. Like, everything's changing. And so it's been a catalyst for us. We're really happy to be part of it. I'm glad we're on this end of it. I wouldn't want to be running a restaurant right now, but it's been good for us. And we think it's just going to accelerate and change how we do business forever. It is going to change business forever. I read an article actually on Forbes saying that someone figured that COVID accelerated the adoption of technology by 3 years. And in a world where things happen so fast, 3 years is a lot, right? Like, it changed human practice, and that's the hard thing to change.
No, I had a CEO that the other day tell me, look, it actually pushed us 10 years ahead, because I've been talking for a long time. He said, I've been talking about it a long time about going remote, working remotely and trying to push my teams in that direction.
Yeah.
And he said, I've been beating my head against the wall for years.
Yeah.
And he said, it probably would have taken me 10 years to get them to that point. Right. So, and it actually forced them to adopt. I mean, he said he was really proud of his IT and his technology team, because they were able to really push the technology out to the staff very quickly. But I think you're right. I mean, you're talking about really creating these remarkable experiences, and if we can, that seems to be the core of it, right? It's almost as if you're there. I mean, I'm thinking about this in terms of like real estate. You just mentioned that, right? And if you're buying a home, why fly to where you're moving if you can see the same home in the same kind of detail and get that same experience? And better yet, because I'm a visual person, right? I mean, you were just talking about, well, we know we're going to remodel the kitchen. Why don't we just do it while we're here? Right?
Yeah, exactly. So we're working with a bunch of top 10 builders in the US, companies that build 50,000 homes a year. Think about how you market that. So, or a condo tower, you start marketing those projects before you're broken ground. So how do you create an immersive virtual world for people? This is how you do it. And not only do you get to see what the house looks like you said, you can customize it. The builders want you to do that. They're happy to change out the counters and the backsplash and, upsell you. Right. But you get to see it with their furniture. So we have a project populated with Wayfair. So you could actually see what that table looks like in that house. We're not far from buying houses fully furnished, right?
Absolutely.
Right? Like, why wouldn't you do? Because nothing ever fits when you go from one house to the other. You drag it, you go, oh, that didn't fit. What if you could know before? And actually, the Zolo Ventures that you mentioned, it was another company that I founded. It's like the biggest real estate site in Canada. And so we know about consumer behavior. What we know about consumer behavior is when it goes from digital to analog, it breaks. So the further along you get people on the digital journey in terms of their involvement, their sense of control, their engagement, the conversion rates get better, and you're less likely to break when you hand it off to a real person. So the further along you get it, you have to have a really strong digital experience. And that's what we're seeing in the cars, in all these configurators. There are markets where we will pay for a photorealistic or almost photorealistic world. Careful saying photorealistic to guys who do video gaming for a living, because their view of photorealistic is just something like beyond what you and I think of. So close to photorealistic, where you can go through and experience the house. Why couldn't you take a picture of your couch and see how your couch fits in that house? That's doable.
How long are we there? How long is it going to take us to get to that photorealistic?
We're there now. You will see you can see some. Our stuff is always kind of hidden, to be honest. So we're there, and most of the brands don't talk about us being there as we power things. But you're going to see top 10 builders in the US launching entire subdevelopments digitally within this quarter, and you're going to see it being part of the entire buying process. And you're going to see condo towers that mostly get sold before the building goes up, right? So that's how developers work. They have to pre-sell a certain number, to free up the financing to break ground. And how do you show someone what the weight room and the swimming pool and the lobby looks like? You can build a digital condo tower, look it up on Google Maps, roll up the street, go in the lobby, see the lobby, get on a virtual elevator, go up to the 40th floor, look at the one unit that you're interested in, look out the window and see what your view is from that window, because we can recreate them all through drone shots. So instead of, oh, what's it going to look like in the morning? Do I get morning sun? Here's morning sun in your condo tower. That exists today, and you're going to start seeing those things within the next 3 to 6 months. It's the technology's there. What's been limiting it was the ability to stream it and to push it out to these light devices. That's what we spent 15 years doing. We started in medical, and now we're doing all these enterprise solutions. And so we can cost effectively stream like a photorealistic image. So people talk about frame rates, like when TV, we think about 30 frames a second. And so you don't get this choppy stuff. We're a little choppy on some of these platforms, but on a browser using our stuff, we're streaming stuff at 50, 60 frames a second. So at 1080p that you can't tell the difference between the real thing and an image from your phone. And then you put it up on a big screen. It knows you're on a big screen. It actually changes the resolution to display it on a big screen. So it's there now. It's cost effective. What's going to limit it will be the capacity of the global networks of servers. So we work with Amazon Web Services. We're working most primarily, but we do cross cloud with some other suppliers. And we're looking at events now. The last event we did was 10 times the size of the event we did before, and it was 10 times the size of the event we did before, and it was 10 times the size of the event we did before. Like in a year and a half, our projects have grown 1,000 times in terms of capacity. So it's coming.
How's this going to change medical, you think?
Well, so we do some work. The idea of the virtual training, so the virtual worlds in medicine, we always did see one, do one, teach one. We're not quite there yet, but we can create virtual worlds using the same gaming technology. We do 3D rendering already. We take 2D X-rays and we create or 2D images to make a 3D world. And so you can guide surgery. We're seeing robotic surgery being done. And so you have a technology like ours that allows you to integrate the robot with the person and the simulated world. Yeah, it's going to change how we treat people. You were already using these virtual tools for remote diagnosis. We do that already. That's part of what we do. But you're going to start seeing remote surgery. We've done that has been done a couple times around the world, and playing around with it to space shuttle and stuff like that. But it's going to become more and more prevalent because people don't want to go wait in the doctor's office anymore. We're not going to put up with that anymore. We're going to demand virtual consultations, looking at virtual, reviewing the images remotely. But your doc you could have a blood pressure monitor and a heart rate monitor at home and a scale and a thermometer, and you got like 90% of what your physical does, right? Like that's really right. We can really monitor, and our iWatches are getting better. The technology is there. So I think you're going to see more adoption of tech in healthcare, again, accelerated by COVID, but it was coming too, right? When I joined the company, I joined because I figured this stuff was coming. I just got proven right by, a worldwide pandemic that, convenient for me, convenient for everybody, but it worked well for me. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Barry, this has been really fascinating. Let me ask you another question, a final question. What scares you about what's going on, and what is exciting? This is not necessarily just business and whatever the answer is, but what are you scared about? What are you really excited about right now?
Well, I try to spend as much time as I can thinking about the future. Like, when you build companies and event stuff, you're always trying to think ahead. I'm really intrigued by and it's really been accelerated by COVID, because I've been thinking a lot about autonomous self-driving cars and what that would do to an urban world, right? Like, what would it do to suburbs and the way we spend our days, how productive we were. because the paperless world didn't, not having printers didn't make my life any easier, made it worse. But so I was always thinking about what's going to happen in the future, and the idea of it would allow us to live in a suburban environment and commute with autonomous self-driving cars to downtown. We could deal with the congestion, we could deal with productivity. Really interesting about self-driving cars, about you took a bunch of self-driving cars and you replaced your today's rush hour with a bunch of little self-driving pods, and your commute goes away. Like, you go from 2 hours to 25 minutes like that, and your time is more productive. You don't have to park your car. But then what happens now that we've just proven we don't need to go to the office entirely? So that, I find that really interesting. So I think I'm excited to see where that goes. I'm worried about COVID. I mean, I grew up in healthcare. I worry about how it's affecting the mental health of people. I've done a couple of podcasts about this, and at the end of the day, there's going to be a significant loss of life, and that's horrible. And there's going to be significant morbidity ongoing for young and old, right? Because we haven't figured all of this out yet. But I really worry about the mental health aspects of the seclusion and people being isolated. And then now we just said that people are going to start working from home. So what does that look like for young people growing up, trying to integrate, trying to learn new things, trying to meet new people? I worry about the mental health aspect of how COVID and these technological changes affect and are going to affect our world, because that's going to stick long term. We may come up with a vaccine, and I hope we do, and I'm hoping it's by the end of next year that we have one in the population. But I worry about mental health. I think that's where really about the people, and how technology was supposed to make our lives better. It did in some ways, and it made it worse in others. And this is the next stage, right? It's going to affect a lot of people. And I think we are focused a lot on the morbidity and mortality. And I think we need to, as leaders and politicians, need to be thinking about the mental health, substance abuse, domestic violence, anxiety, just all these mental health issues that are going to be made worse. I joke, but I think about some of our people who are in, with 3 screaming little kids in a 1-bedroom apartment. I don't know how they got through that first 6 months. And, I don't know. I worry about that. And
yeah.
That's what we talk about. My friends and I, we talk about what do we do? And so is there another thing that we need to be doing for COVID? And I think it's how to create a healthy environment for people. At work, our employees are super productive. Talk to all the professional service people. They couldn't be happier. Their billings are up, their travel time's down. But what about new people coming out of school? How do they integrate into their first job? How do you welcome them into a culture? How do you keep people engaged? And how do you identify people who are having trouble? Where do you go to see who's having a hard day when you don't see them? Because everybody can smile for a bit on Zoom, or maybe everyone just looks like hell on Zoom anyways, and you can't tell. So what do we do to keep people healthy? And I think about that a lot, and I'd like to spend some more time on it, because maybe that's what we should be thinking about, how to make the world a better place with tech. I got to make some money. I'm okay with making money at it, but I also think about our people. So that's what I worry about.
No, you're right, because I had those same concerns. My son's first summer job, because of COVID, was a remote job. But I mean, his first job was a remote job. I think that's a little strange, and because I worry about you're right. You worry about that socialization. You worry about those connections. I mean, we're getting further and further away from truly being connected. I mean, you can have a Zoom coffee or a Zoom happy hour, but that's not the same.
No, it's not enough.
And I think we as people need that interaction and that touch, that truly being able to be with people. At least some of us need that. But I think that's a really good, important point, that as leaders, we really have to think about that and think about how we can do that better. Because I think we are in this new paradigm, right? We're in this new, and that's going to be an added thing that leaders are really, really going to have to pay attention to. So I agree with you wholeheartedly on that.
Yeah, like I think we've got all these things changing, and we're struggling with the restriction of COVID. But COVID, we're going to be left with all these changes, and we still won't have a solution. As leaders, I think we need to think about that. And,
yeah, well, it's our responsibility to take care of our people, and I think it's absolutely something we have to think about it, and it's an added challenge in places like the U.S. where healthcare is a challenge, mental health care is a challenge, and the acknowledgement that it's okay that you need help. I think that mentality, right?
Yeah, asking for help isn't easy. And and I think about the virtual event stuff we're doing, they all have personal collaboration in them. And that's now enabled by technology, but people are demanding it. I don't want to just sit at home and watch something. I want to be part of it, but I want to be able to be with my friends. And I'm really happy that that's there. And the more real we can make that interaction, the better it will be for our mental health, because avatars are avatars. But if you could actually, see people and talk to people, I think the technology that we have, these, Zoom cocktails, big fan, but how do we create some touch? How do we, anyways, I think that's important. I think the technology is evolving. That's going to enable that. And maybe we might just need to do some analog stuff for once in a while too. So go analog. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Barry. It's been great to have you on the program. It's Power Lunch Live. You can check out our upcoming schedule next week and the rest of the month at powerlunch.live. And you can find Barry at PureWeb. Please go out and check out PureWeb. It's a fascinating company doing some fascinating work that you're all going to really see and benefit from as consumers and as founders and CEOs and leaders of your own company. Something that you should be thinking about in terms of your strategy going forward. And so, Barry, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to have you on the program.
Yeah, thanks, Rhett. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for the invite.
We'll see you guys next week. Have a great weekend. Stay healthy and have a great day.